Hey guys, welcome back to the Human Machine. So today I'm really excited to bring you the interview with the SHRAPNEL team. They're one of the hottest shooter games out there that's rewarding players as well as content creators. And guess what? It's powered by Avalanche Subnet. So today we have with us Don Norbury, he's the studio head, Jeff McGann, game director, and Tony Valcarcel, marketing director. How are you guys doing?
Excellent, thank you.
I'm doing awesome. We've had a day of play test at the studio, and I'm actually, Don's leaning back. He was there for one of them briefly.
Feels good, man. Feels good.
Feels good to get in there and play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the vibes. So, let's just start off with the first question. Shrapnel has a distinctive vision, right? And it's combining your extensive decades of teams experience in a AAA background entertainment, and now, of course, with the blockchain, right? So, when it comes to the innovation side, can you share more about like your vision and why did you guys form a Shrapnel in the first place? Maybe Don, you can start.
Yeah, I'll kick off. We always had this idea around, and some of this is because I'm really old. The thing that got me back into or got me into games in the first place was modding games. Kind of like got me my spot in the industry. So we'd always had these kind of, maybe they're rose-tinted glasses to a certain degree, just nostalgia for that style of scene for a particular game, but not like a sandbox, like applied to a specific game. For me, it was Neverwinter Nights, but like got me into the industry like way back in the day. So we always kind of had that idea as opposed to, there's Roblox and there's Minecraft. You see this like aging up of a demographic that's used to just creating stuff. So like that had always existed as a spark for us of how do we do that where it's our own universe, that we build this universe with intrigue, strong world building, everything. And then we also thought extraction shooters were kind of the next evergreen design space after Battle Royale, just saturated the hell out of everyone. That had been something that had been tossed around for a long time internally. And then if you look at that like UGC with the extraction side, when we started getting into the blockchain space and kind of consulting with blockchain companies about the game side, we realized that it was a perfect marriage of kind of technology and this vision that we had already. And that's really what sprung it to life, right? When we looked at if people are going to create stuff, own stuff, loot stuff, right? And like kind of a lose your loadout shooter. It means a lot more if we can give the affordance and agency of true digital ownership and transactions and everything. So it's like, how do we do that in a like legitimate way? And that's always kind of been the center of why we're doing what we're doing from the start.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that, like where I factored into this was Don and I go way back and had made games, at least a game together for a brief period of time, way back in the day. And I had kind of just stayed in that making game space. And then when we started talking, they had already had this whole Shrapnel, the kind of the whole ecosystem set up. And it was, hey, we need you to make a game, which was great because I didn't know a whole lot about blockchain at that point. It was kind of coming in from that, to the AAA Web 2.0 space. For me, it was just been an awesome learning experience to step in and see this.
I mean, it's part of the
Yeah,
vision,
and I think
right?
the thing that excites me most about the vision from a marketing and community standpoint is really the idea of helping to build and accelerate the creator economy. We're moving further and further into a world where people who otherwise would have been working what they would probably find unfulfilling jobs are now able to create a whole career for themselves in this new space where they can either create content adjacent to video games or, in our case, inside of video games that they can then use to not only bring enjoyment to other people, but also make a living. And I think, that's core to why I'm here. And what I'm really excited about is the idea that if Shrapnel is a critical success and a commercial success, then the people who help make Shrapnel successful, namely our customers and our players, they're going to be financially rewarded alongside us. And so that's just, I think that is a paradigm shift that we haven't seen before. I think Roblox and Minecraft started to do a little bit of it. And I'm just really excited for how the flexibility of smart contracts and the blockchain allow us to really treat every customer like a valued part of the company.
Absolutely. And that actually leads into the next question is, why are we talking about blockchain, right? Who cares? Well, it's a technology that enables, the true ownership aspect of the game, and I think this is very distinctive to Shrapnel, as you guys kind of alluded to. So let's talk about this, right? What are the different ways that the user roles in Shrapnel can benefit from this true ownership vision? So that includes players, creators, and also curators. Maybe Don, you can take ahead.
Start again, huh? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would also, we always throw, when we think of those cohorts, we actually throw like speculators and investors in there as well. Like when you have an open market economy, which is what we have, right? When people can own stuff and take it anywhere, the first version of network affordance you get is the ability to buy and sell stuff, right? So that like, it's important to remember that even if those pure, speculative versions of that cohort are a small part of the community, they still exist and it has an impact on the entire rest of the community. There are people who will come in and play, right? And that, they're kind of, and like you said, you break them down to like players, creators, curators, speculators, like they all have different motivations for why they're doing what they're doing, how they value their time, what they want to get out of it. And when we design the different systems in the game, in the ecosystem, in the tools, in the like how we're putting it all together, we always break it down by each of those cohorts individually to make sure that there's a virtuous cycle that like everyone's getting what they want and like trading off what they want and winning what they want in that cycle. So it's very, it's complex. And I would say we definitely, I think, have the most complex set of like economic drivers, especially being a free-to-play game as well, and how it like ties to ownership in all of those different cohorts. So we're doing it responsibly in terms of how we like light up each of those pillars and what people can do over time, so the whole thing doesn't tip over. But really, like we could spend an hour and a half probably going through each of those cohorts and what each of the pieces are that we're giving them. Like there's the obvious on the surface ownership side of it, that's both players like earning stuff out of the game, being able to craft like high value skins and then being able to trade them on a marketplace, and they're just turning that into like purchasing power that they're using to get like better gear and do other things or get other skins that they want. And then the creators, obviously it's not just the like creators being able to create stuff, but it's the community around them, right? People are going to become like the next creative rock stars within the space, which takes you to the curators and the promoters, like the networks of people who glom on to who that creator is, who are following them, who are promoting them through our kind of like token reward mechanism. And then of course like the people who are buying that stuff from the creators, and just starts this whole like snowball effect where each person's we're meeting them where they are and what they want to do, and rewarding for each of the people for just being like a contributing member of the Shrapnel community.
Someone had asked earlier about the blockchain technology aspect of this, and to me, it always comes down to storytelling. Don, you had said this earlier in a different answer, right? And to me, like when I look at these cohorts as we're talking about, it's kind of like you said, it's that mix of them, and it's the stories that they're going to go ahead and create together. We were watching playtests earlier this week and watching people kind of like talking to each other and kind of jazzing each other and razzing each other and getting really competitive within the studio space, and we were just laughing about this, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so funny when they're actually playing for loadouts, and this loadout is on chain, and you get to see that dude who was just giving it to you all that session long or whatever, and you've just got his assault rifle, and you're like, yep, I got it, buddy, it's right here. Those are the things that I think at a small, very low level aspect of the game starts creating those stories, and it really starts building the community at that small kind of like player to player interaction point. And to me, that's where a lot of the stories live, and that's what gets me the most excited about it.
Yeah, and for just to echo some of that, I think for me, I think Don touched on the different customer types, and they're all super important. The people who are on the sticks and the way that they're playing the game is by fighting each other, killing each other, extracting, and withdrawing things from each gameplay session, and then selling, trading them on the marketplace. And then we've got our creators who are going to actually put together either different set pieces of a map to make a map, or different pieces of a skin that they or other people have created to create a new expression for a weapon or a character in game. And I think that as we as those different customer types start engaging with each other more and more, there will be some really interesting dynamics that emerge. Things like like metas where I imagine that at one point, if we get popular enough, we'll have the plaid meta or the neon meta, or like where there'll be high quality creators that jump on a trend and you see it in the game for a week or a month, and that'll create interesting dynamics in the marketplace as people buy and sell and trade those and try to front run metas coming back. Like that whole dynamic is something that Don and I worked at EA Sports for a little while, and you'd see that with Madden Ultimate Team or FIFA Ultimate Team as they would release seasonal players. You would see just this flurry of activity in the player-to-player marketplace as people tried to predict what players were going to end up being more valuable in the next seasonal event or whatever. And we're going to see that, and I'm really excited to see that emerge. And as a marketing person, it makes things like holidays and seasonal activities really fun for me to think about.
Yeah, right. Like there's no end to in terms of creativity. And I think one of the things, out of all things you can build, like, weapons or characters, customizing even call signs, the land system in Shrapnel, right? Being able to design your own map, I think it's a killer feature. Because personally, I can relate. I play a lot of shooter games. Okay, you get bored with the 10 same maps. Later on, a new season comes out. You're like, but then you still buy it anyways because your friends do. And you have no choice. And that was like the endless cycle. But now with the land system, right, players can customize them. Can you talk more about how this land system works and why is it a big part of Shrapnel's economy?
For sure. I mean, it's a content discovery mechanism, really, right? It allows you to kind of like host and promote maps as people create them. So, and then in turn, based on how they perform organically, to be rewarded for actually being the person to like host those maps, and you host them as long as you want. As long as you kind of like have that agreement. So that like the basis of it is effectively you look at the App Store, you're like 100,000 things come in every day. How do you decide like what you're going to install on your phone, right? And there's always some of it's like utility based. Hey, I need that app that does this thing. I'm going to search for it. But all of these are still like discovery mechanisms that you're going through, discovery services you're going through. So the land stuff for us was very much about how do we incentivize the community to find and promote the best maps and the best content? Like we provide the tools, like how do we get the best stuff in front of people's faces? And then effectively, how do we have like Hunger Games for people's maps? And that's where the land system came from. At least that was kind of the motivation. And how do we like separate it so it's whale proof to a certain degree, right? You can promote it and like boost it. And there's a whole kind of like mechanism that we've talked a little bit about that haven't really like revealed the details of yet. That it lets you do that so far, but ultimately they have to organically compete against each other, and only like the top ones are the ones that actually like win and get rewarded. So it's not this thing where we wanted to make sure that it wasn't something that was like artificially inflatable, that was whale proof to a certain degree. So that's kind of the crux of what it represents and how it works. And we also consider like our success point will be, we know when we come out of the gate, Shrapnel's map is going to be the exemplar. We consider the success point is when more than 50% of the sessions played, the time played, are on UGC maps, on creator, the community maps. Once we hit that, like we know we did our job, we did it right. Then we're focused also on seasons, right? So you have like a biome, Japan is going to be our first map. I forget we had like a name for it that I think just got like nailed down. I don't know if it was
Yomi.
Yomi
is the name of it. Yeah,
it's going to be the name of the
map. Land of the Dead. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's your alpha for so that's going to be the first map, but that's a biome that we've like constructed, and that comes with a set of kind of aesthetic prefabs, right? It's a certain palette choices, certain elements that are in the environment, and people can use those to make their own maps. In the meantime, we're setting up biome 2, right? We'll be expanding that map over time, but also you want like a different environment that's in different weather conditions, different like color palette, different lighting, like gives you a different emotional effect. So when that happens, then like the people will be able to shift over, use a new prefab set, build new maps that are in a different environment. So you get this like not just all the maps on the different lands, but you get this kind of seasonal like fashion. It's like out with the old and in with the new, and now everybody's over here, and we're not wearing tight pants anymore. Everything's baggy.
Yeah, it's kind of like Tony said. You'll start seeing the trends of map creation as well. You'll start seeing how people start trying to build things in different ways, and like that's the stuff that I'm so excited for. When I talk about community building and stories and the stuff that are, the stories that our community is generating, it's going to be around these maps. It's we're going to see creativity. Once these people start playing and they start expressing, what they want to see in these spaces, we're going to see all kinds of stuff that we didn't think of as developers. And like Don said, like I think that's the point where we think we've made it, but I'm also so excited to see what the community creates in the space.
Yeah,
Terrified a little bit too, but
excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think even like last week we had a couple of creators come into the studio just to like try the game out in its latest form. We introduced one of our Sigma abilities, and it's like a Sigma jump, Sigma push ability, and you can bounce yourself off of walls and the ground. And prior to this, like the game felt real military simulator. Like it was like it was very tactical. People are running around and using sprint kind of sparingly. And then this guy came in and it was Orangey. He's a very popular Fortnite streamer, and he's the guy who won Dookie Dash for the Yuga minigame. And he came in and started using the Sigma ability like it was a pogo stick, and it like changed the game. It like completely changed the way that people were playing and watching the game. And like that's
our designers were freaking out. Yeah, sorry, Tony. I was like, our designers were freaking out. They were in orbit, like walking around the thing, and they're like, oh my god, he's doing that. Oh, what is he doing over here? And they were like, we got video of this.
Yeah,
we got to put kill volumes in. Yeah, he's out of the map again. It was great to watch the stuff that he was doing, because we were immediately in there and tuning and changing stuff. It was the RNG nerf before the game even comes out. But it was really cool to see the way he was using the early testing. Mechanics, like I was saying earlier, we would never show this stuff in a traditional, AAA game. We would never show stuff this early. So watching him do that, and watching him do that on stream was really cool to see. Okay, do we want the game to go this way? It's kind of evolving, and there's a way that you can build up to that, and that's just one of many Sigma abilities that are being prototyped right now. So that won't be the only thing, So when you see him bouncing around, there are definitely counters to that. I know people out there are asking already, so just heading that one off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that goes on to the next question. When it comes to community engagement, getting rewards, I think this is very important as part of the long-term sustainability of the game. So how can players, leverage the SHRAP token within the game to explore, right, what it means to have community engagement, get rewarded, and other interactions?
For sure. I mean, creating stuff is the most obvious one, right? Certainly, like expressing yourself in not just in terms of like the tool set, but in how you want to collect and curate stuff that other people are making, right? Becoming not just like somebody who creates stuff, but somebody who has a collection or is an influencer, really. So you're basically like hoovering up stuff from specific creators, creating collections that you're then turning around that people want, like to follow and like buy your creations. Also, promotion is a huge one. So, like I said, I alluded a little bit to it earlier. We haven't talked about the details, but it is tied effectively to the SHRAP token that allows you to promote the creators and the content and maps themselves, so that if that stuff is dope and is actually performing, you get rewarded as it's not just a creator or the landowner in the case of maps, it's the people who are promoting stuff that is really good. We consider them to be as an important part of the process as well. And of course, like SHRAP is a huge part of that. That's on top of the other parts of SHRAP, which is obviously like it is our primary medium of transaction. So it's the thing you're going to use for all of your trading. It's what you're going to use to like buy the new weapons and equipment that you want and stuff like that.
Sorry, I was just I don't have anything to add. I was going to say I think that was a pretty good comprehensive summary. We have the different customer types, and really the customer type that is least that is most able to engage with the ecosystem, but furthest away from gameplay are those that want to curate content, right? And so like if I think I'm a tastemaker, or I'm very passionate about a specific influencer or player, then I can go and follow them around and say, I think that Ninja's map should be the most popular map this month, and so I'm going to go promote the hell out of that. Or my sister is getting into skin making as a new hobby, and so I want to get her skins in front of everyone. So I'm going to go rally my community to promote her skins for a month and see if people start picking those up. And I think those are interesting ways, as we talk to the Web3 community, that people can engage with our ecosystem in a really meaningful way that is connected with the game and tied to how SHRAP is being used and distributed and flows through the ecosystem without having actually to play the game. And I think that is pretty unique relative to a lot of the other models you see in the space, right? Like if you look at a lot of the games where the majority of the token emission or the majority of the reward emission happens as a function of like being on the sticks, if you will, or like playing the game, killing the monster, whatever. And we've really built a number of ways to engage with our ecosystem that have nothing to do with that.
I would say we also, we're going to be talking soon about kind of the underlying technology that powers Shrapnel. And at the heart of everything that we're doing is also the ability for our assets and SHRAP itself to move anywhere and do anything. And I would say we've talked a bit here about what that structure looks like internally to SHRAP and within its ecosystem. But we're already working with a number of partners about what it means within their games and ecosystems. And some of them are very closely shrapnelized. Some of them are tangentially shrapnelized, kind of in their own thing. Some of these projects we've actually given SHRAP assets directly to, but it's with the kind of not just SHRAP as the token, but also the assets that you have having an expression within those other games and platforms that's actually tied into the infrastructure that we're building, not just the cloud infrastructure, but actually on-chain representation as well.
I was just going to say, just to provide some examples there, there are a couple of games that are currently announced that they're going to accept SHRAP in exchange for exclusive playable characters in their games. And so Captain and Company is an up-and-coming extraction pirate-based shooter where there will be exclusive Shrapnel characters that you can drop into a pirate ship with and fight against people and engage with their game. And the other is a game called Alchemy. It's being created by a popular Hearthstone streamer and her team, a woman named Ali Straza. And they're basically like an in-Discord RPG. And similarly, a couple of the characters that you will be able to play in this RPG will be Shrapnel themed, and the only way that you'll be able to access them is with SHRAP. So we have a number of those kind of conversations in the fire at any given time. And so what we're really excited about is, to Don's point, we've built this thing that we had to build for SHRAP to work, and now we've got other people that are like, hey, it'd be really interesting to really pay off this collaborative community interoperability narrative that's such a core part of Web3. And we're excited to just be able to do that in a really meaningful way early.
Yeah, I think the one I'm most excited about, actually, you didn't even talk about, is the Fortnite one. I don't know if you've seen UEFN, which is like the editor mode now for Fortnite. But we're actually working very closely with a team that's directly using a bunch of our assets to build a shrapnelized experience in Unreal Fortnite.
Oh, that's going to be sick. Okay, cool.
I wasn't even sure if I was allowed to talk about that, so Don's bringing the alpha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going public now. Yeah. Yeah, I think on the Web3, side of things, right, handling all these assets, supporting the entire UGC economy, it is quite ambitious, right? But there are blockchain networks out there that can support this, obviously, and there are many out there. So I was actually wanted to ask you, why should the community know about why Shrapnel is, powered and building on AvalancheSubnet?
Everything in blockchain is a trade-off, right? So you're like security, scalability, even sometimes the partners versus how much money they'll put behind the projects they attract to a particular L1 or L2. There's a huge matrix of those trade-offs. For us, Avalanche was the most technically robust one, and also just a good partnership in terms of as we grow and evolve over time, who are we going to be glued to, so that we're developing like features into the future and have the support that we need to run what we're going to do. Like ultimately, we embrace the Web3 ethos of transportability, like ownership, transaction, respect, all those things. But we also still need to be like geographically, like regulatorily on the right side. And a lot of that has to do with like protecting our customer base because we want to attract a big mainstream audience. And you can't do that without making sure they're protected appropriately, right? Web3 is very Wild West in its traditional sense, and that's why a lot of us are here because we actually love that. But that's going to be like a small subset of people that we continue to like cherish and respect, and we are those people. But we also want like all of the gamers to come to Shrapnel and experience what that agency and affordance looks like. So Avalanche gave us, and specifically Subnet architecture, gave us the ability to basically run our own production subnet for Shrapnel, so that from when you think about like sharing block space with other games, and how things can tip over, it's like, hey, they had a big mint today, or during these hours, and it brought like everything else to a crawl, or made the gas prices go up, or all of these like trade-offs for having a public chain that you're using. The cloud equivalent would be what we call a noisy neighbor problem, where your game's being deployed to a VM, and there's like another game on that VM that's eating all the resources, and they're supposed to obey boundaries, but they don't quite, right? It's not that clever and separated. So like blockchain's like the worst situation of that, right? Where it's like there's not even any VM separations. Like you're just there trying to get the same transactions into that chain. So, it gave us that, from a scalability. Avalanche also has the like finality that we want, just their consensus mechanism and like the algorithm and how it works. So it was for us, once we did all the classics that I'm sure a lot of these projects do, all the like multi-dimensional calculus analysis of which we wanted to go with. And in the end, it ended up being kind of the no-brainer for what we wanted. Also with that technology I was talking about before, the infrastructure that runs Shrapnel, we built all of this so that it can be multi-chain, right? You've seen even some of our marketing activations in the past. We did this thing called the SCU canisters, which is the Sigma containment units. Those were across 3 different chains. So they were on Avalanche, but also on Ethereum and Polygon. And it was like the technical proving out of this infrastructure that we're building, where they can have those things, they can link their self-custody wallets into their Shrapnel account. We respect the fact that like people own those things. So it's even though we're running our production subnet on Avalanche, we are omni-chain in terms of everything that we build, and that's both ownership in a wallet that's on a different chain, as well as transportability between the chains.
What I will say is I am incredibly grateful for the support that Avalanche gives us from a marketing and business development perspective. They are, grade A, top-notch, best in class partners, in my opinion. I spent a lot of time at Amazon working with hundreds and hundreds of video game vendors, and a lot of different very challenging folks from time to time on the publisher side, which is really, Avalanche likes to say that they're not a publisher, but it's kind of their relationship with us. They provide a lot of support and infrastructure, and their marketing and business development team are incredibly responsive, financially supportive. They co-sponsor stuff with us all the time, and they're constantly ready to give us access to both their customer base and developers on their on the network. And so as we go to continue to build out these things that Don's talking about, we already have kind of a steady pipeline of potential customers for this product that Don was just describing as a function of working so closely with Avalanche, and we just couldn't appreciate that more.
Absolutely. These are really important points, and I think there's a true sense of genuineness, right, in what you guys are doing and the passion, and I think that reflects in why your community is here, standing behind you. So yeah, congrats, and we of course look forward to the full release of the game. I know you guys have tons of content out there already, but for those that are interested, you can go on the EpicGamesStore, right, and wishlist that as well. So that's going to be big.
That's right.
No worries. I was just going to quickly drop a plug for how to get involved if you're interested in Shrapnel. As you said, you can go to the EpicGamesStore and add us to your wish list. You can also follow us at PlayShrapnel on Twitter or X or whatever we're supposed to call it now. And also, if you're super interested and you know that you want to get in and support the project and play the game early access does start in December. The way to get early access is to have an extraction pack. We are selling them on our website for $20, $50, and $100. If you follow us on Twitter and you post what we're calling chibis, which are cute little animated type characters that look like operators, there is a high chance that me or someone on my team will just give you one of those $20 packs so you can get into the game and start playing. And so if you're interested, follow us on Twitter or X, whatever we're supposed to call it, and get on the timeline and post some funny, cute shit, and we'll likely reward you.
And links down below, right? So everything what Tony said as well. So yeah, Jeff, Don, and Tony, thank you very much for today's session. We look really forward to, the final game and everything that comes around it. So yeah, thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you for having us.
A lot, man.
All right. Bye.
Have a good night.